All right, well, phone died. And I believe we were just getting done having to talk about that 3/8 Milwaukee impact. I've also got the 2767 high torque. I've got that gas strut in the way. 1/2 inch impact. And very rarely do I need anything more than that for most of my applications. But I got a 3/4 set and gun, and you'll see that here in a minute. Here the top drawer is not coming out all the way. And all right, we'll have to work on that. But anywho, mostly electrical stuff up here. Craftsman multimeter. Like I told you before, I don't want to have like real expensive stuff that's going to get all tore up out in the field. Backup multimeter, because I've run multimeters over before, and then been SOL on trying to get the rest of my diagnostics done. Got the old school test light. And then I got the LED test light, a couple of spark testers for the gas and LP engines. Keep that old school test light with the incandescent bulb in there, because I can see if we've got any kind of amperage flowing through the frame on DC electric trucks. And if you've got amperage flowing through the frame, then you got real troubles. So we pull batteries out, clean them off, repaint them. Same thing with the chassis. Usually put some sort of insulator in there, like a cardboard panel or a rubber panel, so that we don't have any amperage bleeding to the frame. Forgive me if I can't keep everything in frame. Test wires, test leads, the retractable ones, come in real handy when you got to measure over a longer distance. Temperature, infrared temperature gun, a couple of battery terminal, like battery post cleaners, some solder, marking crayon. I don't remember why I had that. It was for a special job. And then keep silicone sitting in here, even though it's not really where it's supposed to live. But we're not here to reorganize the truck. We're here to look at the shit that's in it for insurance purposes. This here, another drawer. We got Allen key sets, metric and standard. Got a whole bunch of different style picks here, like a 6-piece long pick set. Over here, tape measure, thread sealant, backup tape measure. You guys can start to see the redundancy that I was talking about. Here's an inspection mirror that I put on the end of the extendable magnet. Another inspection mirror with a short handle. Beater set of calipers. Some feeler gauges back here. Also a couple of thread gauge identifiers, like see how many teeth per inch you got on your fasteners. Couple of adjustable tap sockets, Irwin brand ones. Sometimes tap with handle, sometimes tap with the ratchet. Another pick set here. Even though I got these long ones, I still go to these guys most of the time. A while back I went on a Mayhew spree, because figured out the Mayhew makes a lot of tools for a lot of other brands, and I figured what's the point in paying for the truck brand name on it if I can just buy it from the original manufacturer, have the same kind of warranty. The only disadvantage is you can't take it back to the truck, but that doesn't really hurt me that much. So yep, another pick set here. Then these Mayhew handles over here, these are O-ring spoons. I've never torn an O-ring. Usually I'm removing damaged ones, so not the end of the world. But every once in a while when you're tearing apart a control valve or something like that, it comes in pretty nice that you're not tearing stuff up. These are just some cheapo Harbor Freight hole cutters. When I'm building gaskets, if I get in a pinch and I can't get a gasket and I gotta make one, then I'll just use those for bolt holes. You can see this one gets used a bit. Got some hammer action going on there. I don't know what in the world they put that hex on there for. It doesn't cut worth a shit if you're using it on a drill. I could tell that without even ever trying to, but they work fine for punching holes in gaskets. Come down another one here. Got a scraper, brake pliers, forklift brakes on everything that's 14K and smaller. They're all pretty much mechanical drum brakes, old school technology, but it works, so they leave it alone. Gasket or seal puller. You can see I got a handful of files in a variety of different styles. Needle greaser guy, soft tipped one. These are for doing radial tire repairs, a rasp, and the insert tool. I recently killed a couple of tires on my wife's car. She was really unhappy about it, but I've got them patched up, got down to discount, bought some new tires. This is a button greaser. When I worked at the quarry, we had a Marion drag line, super old. No, I shouldn't say super old, because I got guys probably watch this video that aren't as old as that machine, or maybe older. It was a 1961 Marion. It had a 98-foot boom on it. I think it was a 3 cubic yard bucket, and we used it for cleaning out silt pond. This here's a oil filter remover deal. Heavy duty grease coupler, 3-jaw, 10,000 psi on the Milwaukee grease gun. Here's a light duty one for the manual grease gun. This here is a Craftsman bolt remover kit. You can see they've got the twist inside of there that runs in reverse. Take this thing, set it down on top of your tore up fastener, tap it down on there, and then stick the ratchet in there or your impact gun and rip it out. And ideally you replace it with a good new fastener. Underneath of these couplers here, we got a I think it's a Mac, maybe with a Mac Co. Line extractor set, and comes in real nice for pulling broken off screws more than bolts. I don't like to put a whole hell of a lot of torque on these things, but sometimes you got to push it. Every once in a while you got to call the guys about warranty because you pushed it too far. But you really can't have too many different styles of extractors, because there's no set style of breakage that you run into. Down here you can see it's a little bit of a mess. Got a couple of scrapers. Got a couple of wedges here in case you got to drive things apart on occasion. This one's cut out. There's a second one right there that's cut out. This one here is a forged one. Let's see, got some drifts. This one here, this is a OSHA or MSHA Nightmare. I had an MSHA inspector one time that required to see my chisel drawer because she had a hard-on for damaged and floured out ends on chisels and punches, because she must have seen somebody catch a chunk of it in their eye or something. So this one stays hidden most of the time. I should be responsible and grind the head off of it. Big brass drift right there. A myriad of different chisels, in which I've ruined the temper on most of them because I've had to grind fresh edges back on them. I got a whole bunch of pin punches. You see that one's had a little bit of a rough ride, that 1/8" one. Some of these are pin starter punches. They have a little dome on the end of them. Some of them are just stubby punches, some are long punches. This here is a carriage wear gauge for class 2 forklift carriages. On occasion, Got to do some AC work on the buildings. I don't have an EL01 or an EL06 low voltage license, but I can at least let the electrician know that's coming after I've done a quick evaluation of the situation, what voltage he's looking at for replacing a charger, typically for our electric trucks. Oh, and then here's our class 3 wear gauge. I don't ever really use those things. I've been doing it long enough I can kind of identify when I've got an issue with something just with the naked eye. Here's the Mayhew Dominator heavy duty picks. Straight, angled, all different shapes. There's a couple of hex wrenches in there. 12 mil, half inch, 7/16. Don't need them often, but better to have and not need it than need it and not have it. We got a cheap little digital caliper here. This here is telescopic bore gauges, so that you can check the inside dimensions of your gland nuts to see if they're shot. Same thing with the bore inside of, or your bore diameter for pin bores. See if you need to do some line boring and welding. Hose cutter comes in nice for the half-inch push lock hose that we do a lot of stuff with. Slobber tubes on the lift cylinders, and then also transmission cooler lines. It's down here some air tools, some drill bits. So we got back 3-inch cutoff wheels. Use those all the time for cutting my hydraulic hose before I press the fittings on. Over here the air hammer bits, the big PH3050 snap-on air hammer. Can't go wrong with this thing. It hits hard. It'll tear some shit up if you're reckless with it at all. This here, $7.49 at Harbor Freight 15 years ago. You can see the little plastic cap there for the top of it's gone. If you listen to it, bearings are shot, but that's the toughest fucking die grinder I've ever seen. I've put that thing through hell many times over, and it won't die, so I haven't fucking replaced it. You can see we got all kinds of abrasive pads and wire wheels, flap discs, fast and easy way to resurface the inside of your drums. You know, for forklifts, you're talking pretty low mile per hour environments, so you don't build up a whole hell of a lot of heat in the brace. You don't get a lot of warpage. Sometimes they'll get glazed over, but if they get glazed, then you just sand the shoes and sand the drums and let it build up some more dust in the drums after a couple hours of operation, and she's good to go. I got a pile of these little Harbor Freight step bits. They are super duper handy if you're lazy and you don't want to go through the whole drill set. This here's the center punch. An Ryobi 29-piece black oxide drill bit set. About time to replace this because I've killed about a dozen of those bits. Try real hard to be good to my drill bits, but sometimes they're not good to me. This here's container just full of jobber bits, some leftovers from other jobs. Most of these are high-speed steel bits. They've been real good. I don't ever sharpen the bits. Typically, I just let them die and move on, grab a new one. When you're in the field, you don't have a whole lot of time for doing tune-up stuff on your tooling and your equipment. Down here is a hammer drawer. We got a 3-pound dead blow, 2-pound dead blow, 3-pound drilling hammer. I think that's a 40-ounce ball peen, and then a little 22-ounce ball peen there. Some more welding clamps. Back there we got the pop rivet gun for when we're going to change out data plates and such. There's another punch deal that I've got. We're doing small holes in gaskets. used it a handful of times. I haven't had to use it here in a couple of years, so it kind of just stays in the back of the drawer, but infinitely handy when you need it. This little guy here is full of the pop rivets for the pop rivet gun. Down there in the bottom, you can see we got a heel bar. That was a cheap Harbor Freight, like $4 heel bar, and I reprofiled it so that it actually works. I don't know if anybody's ever used those things, but usually the heads on them are real fat out there by the bill, you know, out there towards the front of it. And you can't get it underneath of anything, so it's more or less useless. Unless you're just using the other end of it as a guide for lining holes up. Down here's the 3/4 drawer. So we got, let's see, how small do we get in here? We got from 7/8 all the way up to 2.5 impact, 6-point, including if your 3/4 gun's got the nuts, bud wheel socket, and then a couple of extensions, 4-inch and a 9-inch. More Harbor Freight shit, $100 3/4 impact. That thing's got balls. That motherfucker does work. I've torn all kinds of stuff apart with that thing that I thought maybe I should go get the 1-inch gun, but I was too lazy to walk to go get the 1-inch gun out of the shop, and so I just beat it apart with that, and she did it. Cheap 3/4 inch 12-point socket set. Sometimes you get in a pinch and you got to have the 12-point. I don't know why in the world anybody that does fasteners that big needs 12-point heads. I think it's ridiculous. Down there under the gun, that's the short 3/4 drive stuff from 1-inch to 1.5 or 7/8 to 1.5. And then the adapter down there, you know, so you can go from 1/2 to 3/4, so that I can try to break it with the Milwaukee gun, you know. 3/4 ratchet and breaker bar down there. Move on to the next compartment.